X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every X-Men story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach. And Adam, I have something to ask you.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that there's bound to be a day when you get better?
When I or we or
when you feel better.
Okay.
You're gonna rise up free and easy on that day, and float from branch to branch lighter than the air. Just when that day is coming, who can say? Who can say? Do you know why, Adam?
I'm assuming you're gonna. Let's hear the whole thing. Just do it.
Because our mother has been absent ever since we founded Rome. But there's going to be a party when the wolf comes home. And, buddy, the wolf has come home.
Oh, man. All right. This week we are talking about Nova Roma and Selene.
Yeah. Our Mountain Goats fans in the audience are very happy right now. And other people are very confused. It was the Mountain Goats from Up the Wolves.
Well,
a song that eerily depicts the proceedings in New Mutants.
It does.
That we're talking about today.
Yeah. So, whose fine request was this that we head down to South America and visit everybody's favorite Roman transplants?
Yeah. This was a request by Patreon supporter Eric Cotton. Eric Cotton went over to patreon.com/comicsxf, supported his local comics book journalism to get these unfiltered takes and popular indie songwriter references, and to make us talk about Selene and Nova Roma and all that stuff. If you want to be like Eric, go sort that out. We'll tell you some more details at the end of the show. We got to talk about New Mutants, Adam.
We are. We're going to talk about, I guess this is technically kind of the third arc of the original New Mutants.
Yep.
And it is issues 7 through 12, and they really focus around the introduction of Magma, who is a new character who we get to meet and joins the team before this is over. We're only on issue 7, and it does look like we've already killed off Karma. And
which Professor Xavier knows Karma's not dead.
Right.
But he's keeping that from the New Mutants because there's some malevolent force.
What could it be?
It's the Shadow King.
It's the Shadow
Shadow King's good now. Not good as in morally, but Shadow King's a good and interesting character now. And if you haven't read Vita Ayala and Rodriguez's New Mutants, get off your butts and go do that. It's so good.
So good. So good.
We're biased. We like Vita.
I like
but
it's still really good.
Yeah.
Still really good. And now... So we've got Karma kind of off the map now, and at the beginning of this arc, Roberto is very, very concerned that his mother has also bit the big one, but she has not. And Nina is actually going to take the New Mutants on an archaeological dig to Rio in South America, and there they are going to encounter some. Oh boy. Well, first we get a Mr. T stand-in with the
you're talking about Axe!
Of Axe.
It's Mr. T with an axe. And the Hellfire Club hired him to do some Mr. T with an axe things.
That is just bonkers.
He's a mutant.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure what's his power.
Axe. Powers having axe.
He has a big axe. Yeah.
Power having big axe.
It's pretty wild that the Hellfire Club is hiring people to kill either Nina or the New Mutants in total, and they send Axe and a guy named Castro. It's like, you can do better, Hellfire Club.
It's weird, but they know that everyone's distracted. Professor Xavier's not going to do anything. He's got fun motorcycle men back in the danger room that he has to deal with. We cannot get into Team America because we're not talking about that.
It is weird, though, that
Absolutely
Team
wild
America
arc.
does have a one-panel cameo, and that Sunspot gets into an argument with Professor X about Team America. It's great.
Jeez, I love Team America so much. They're dumb. They're very bad. They're 4 motorcycle guys that can combine into five motorcycle guys that can combine into a 6th better motorcycle guy.
Oh my God. Yeah. They are not around for long, though, because the team does head to Rio and encounters almost immediately what looks like a small group of, I don't know what you would call them, warriors.
They're described as Incans, which is that's starting off on a bad foot because the Incan people were native to the exact opposite side of South America that Rio de Janeiro is on. They were largely in modern day Peru. So weird choice, Claremont. Even weirder is that they're all doing brownface, and that actually they're fair-skinned descendants of the Roman Empire around the reign of after the murder of Julius Caesar. They all left.
I'm gritting my teeth so hard at this. It's
I mean, I think we can just say it. Hey, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't. Why? It was 1983. You did know better, and you still chose to. Chris Claremont with pencils by Sal Buscema, inks by Bob McLeod, and Tom Mandrake. Glennis Wine does the colors on these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he should know better. And there really is no storytelling purpose to them being disguised in any way. I guess the larger idea is that they want to protect the city of Nova Roma, which is a functioning Roman society within the jungles of Brazil. And okay, but you don't need the blackface. And we discover that Magma is in full head to toe brown makeup after she takes a dunk in the water, and Rain discovers that she can speak English. And we then end up in Nova Roma for some gladiatorial combat and other shenanigans.
Chris Claremont resonated with that one line in Airplane where the pilot asks, "Do you like gladiator movies?" He really did, because he keeps doing that. Chris Claremont loves the idea of gladiator fights. I don't understand it.
Does. It comes up over and over and over again, even into his later work. That's just like a thing with him. But as we know, Chris Claremont has his things. And so this is just getting weirder and weirder by the second. And we also
we're like halfway through this.
To Amara's dad, who is a senator in Nova Roma. We also get introduced to, as we mentioned before, the villain Celine, who turns out is not just the wife to one of the other senators, but is actually a soul-sucking, I don't know, immortal
vampire
priestess.
Mutant priestess vampire.
She's not quite the Celine that we know in more contemporary times, external Celine. But at this point, the building blocks are there. She's throwing Nova Romans into lava and sucking up their life energy.
She's a generic Conan witch. That's what she is. She is a evil priestess in this. And she's an evil priestess in a very, very weird setting. And there's a lot of weird intrigue that goes on. We find out that the Nova Romans think of Rain as the Nova Romans think of Rain as a goddess,
right? Because she's a wolf.
Because she's and the Romans had a thing for wolves. Romulus and Remus. They were the twin wolf brothers who founded Rome.
Right. So they do throw Rain a parade at some point, and there's some weird stuff with sort of like they're gonna, I don't know, they drug everybody at some point in this story.
Oh yeah, the New Mutants do a lot of underage drinking and a lot of getting roofied, which I don't love.
No. Now, once we actually get past Selene, there is, I think, what I think is probably the best issue of the lot, which is 12.
12.
And that's, Magma rediscovering the outside world. That's kind of fun. They're at the beach. She can't stop herself from making volcanoes everywhere. That's like classic New Mutants kind of like tomfoolery. I can get behind that.
That's better. It's got an incredible splash page where Emmanuel da Costa, Roberto's dad, goes to his office to find Roberto sitting, leaning back with his legs kicked up in his dad's fancy chair because his dad's mega rich. Mm-hmm. And Roberto, to Sal Buscema's credit here, Roberto is drawn like he's 13 years old.
Right.
And is like, he looks like the Hellfire kids look like in like New Mutants nowadays, or not New Mutants. I guess they're in Marauders now, but you know what I mean. The little kid Hellfire Club,
yeah,
Humanis Verdes or whatever they're called, or Humanis Verendes or whatever they're calling themselves now. And that issue is much better than the rest.
Well, but it is because it doesn't take place in Nova Roma, which sucks.
Nova Roma is so bad. And it's weird because this arc, it's 6 issues. The first 2 issues were not even in Nova Roma yet. Mm-hmm. We're still building up to it, and they're just a drag for other reasons.
Yeah.
Because they're bad. Like, early New Mutants was actually pretty bad up until, like, it starts to turn around at issue 12. And they kind of get it good, but really doesn't hit till Demon Bear in 18.
The characters here. I enjoy spending time with the characters. I just don't necessarily enjoy this adventure because the setting is just, I don't know. There's something very, very bland about this city that is just supposed to be white columned Rome. There's nothing interesting about it.
If Nova Roma wasn't absolutely confounding in every single decision that went into having it as a setting, because it's there is no narrative like value in it.
Nope.
If it was, hey, the New Mutants went back in time and went to Rome, it would still suck because the story's bad. Selene is not interesting here. She's not interesting in a lot of places, in my opinion. But she's especially not interesting here.
She's boring, and yet she's one of the more interesting things that's happening in this story. At least when she starts to witch it up, you're like, oh, good. Something's happening other than the New Mutants are fighting each other for, whatever reason. She does
throw a lot of Nova Roman citizens into a volcano, and I appreciate that about her, because the less Nova Romans are out there, the less we have to think about Nova Roma.
Yeah, it's even insinuated at some point that not all of the Nova Romans are actually from Italy, that they may also be Incans, and just like,
again, it's dumb, bad, and
racist.
Wildly ignorant. Yeah, very. Yeah, it is. It's a really weird racist arc, and the most obvious racist parts of it are just like weird, unnecessary thing.
Yeah.
Like, not that racism's ever, like, a necessary thing to be perpetuating in a story. I get that. It's just, it's so confounding, every decision that goes into this arc. It's bad. I'm pretty sure when I did my first read through of New Mutants, I started this and I skipped it. I said, just get me to some of the decent part. I don't have to jump right to Demon Bear. I'll get everyone kind of joining the team, but I'm skipping Nova Roma because it sucks, and it does suck. It's boring and bad, and I don't like it, and I don't want to talk about Nova Roma, and I want Nova Roma to all burn and die, and Ed Brisson started that, but it seems like Lucius Antonius Aquila is still alive, and I don't particularly care for that. Edward, you should have let him die as well.
Well, why don't we rank this not great story on our big giant list? What do you think?
Yeah, so here's the thing about our very long list. It's very long. We have so many X-Men stories that we have ranked. Some would call that number 471 on our road to 500. Yeah, we've got not many episodes till we're at 500.
I know, it's crazy.
We should maybe do something special for that. We'll find that out. Right. Anyway, our number one story is Hoxpox. Our number 100th story on this list is that Bendis arc where they go to Limbo. The number 200 story on our list is Juggernaut's back in town at 194. The number 300 story on our list is X-Men Kingbreaker, where they break a king. Actually, they don't do a very good job breaking that king at all. He dies, or he wins, kind of. Number 400 is the Cable arc of Onslaught, and then the Draco's at the very bottom. You have highlighted number 381, which is New Mutants, Fall of the Mutants, which has Bird Brain, who's bad.
I don't know that this is as bad as the Fall of the Mutants arc with Bird Brain. We're there though. We're in the realm.
Do you think that this is better than Wildcats X-Men, which is just a few spots down? Because I would rather read Wildcats X-Men all day long. That has way better art than Sal Buscema, who's the most bland. He's not even the best of his brothers.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with what Sal's doing. It's in line with what Bob is doing. It suits the book for the beginning of it. But yeah, I think I'm looking down here, and
is it better than Heroes for Hope at 398?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cohesive story, and I do think that the last issue kind of gives it some brownie points here.
The last issue is better.
I would put it ahead of Beauty and the Beast at 396, and I would put it ahead of 394 Poptopia.
I would go lower.
You would? Okay, where would you go?
I would say at 396 we have Beauty and the Beast. Mm-hmm. At 397 we have Pride and Wisdom.
Yeah.
I would say between Pride and Wisdom and Heroes for Hope. Heroes for Hope is also racist.
Sure.
Even if it means well, it means well, but also does a racism, which is bad.
All right, I can get behind that. I personally would put it ahead of Pride and Wisdom just because I hate Pete Wisdom and I hate Pete and Kate together. But I like your reasoning there. So this is going to be our new 398?
It will be. It will be right above Heroes for Hope. It's 398, the New Mutants Nova Roma arc. That has one good issue in it, and that one issue is pretty good, and that's the only reason it's not lower. Or else, if you wouldn't have reminded me of issue 12, Adam, this would have been a 400 easily.
Well, Zach, now I have a question for you. Now, imagine that you are the writer who's been responsible for the first 50 issues of New Mutants. You've been given an opportunity just recently by Marvel to go back and actually revisit some of the books that you stopped writing when you finished writing them. So, for example, you got a chance to write a book called X-Men Forever. Now you're also getting an opportunity to write New Mutants Forever and re-team up with Bob McLeod for a 5-issue miniseries. I'm just spitballing here, just curious. What would your pitch for that book be? Would it be to revisit Nova Roma?
Well, I would feel, if I was in those shoes, that I left a lot of business unattended to regarding Selene and how actually Selene's good. And
you're trying.
And the only way that I could, if I was in those shoes, conceivably say, well, who makes Selene look good? I guess it's the Red Skull.
Oh my God.
I guess it's actual Nazis. This is the New Mutants Forever. Claremont wrote it. Al Rio does the pencils. Bob McLeod does the inks. Grui Effects does the colors on this one. It came out in 2010. It's a 5-issue miniseries about the fall of Nova Roma, as if Claremont just kept writing New Mutants instead of handing the book off to Wheezy.
I can't with this.
It's bad in
ways
okay.
in ways that the first story could only dream to be. It's just so unbelievable that this got printed in 2010. Like, Chris Claremont had the cojones to walk into Marvel editorial and pitch this story, and they said yes. What?
I don't understand it. I truly cannot comprehend this specific story, because I don't like it. Because what happens is the New Mutants are hanging out at the Hellfire Club, as they do, with their headmaster Magneto.
Right.
The Hellions, nowhere to be seen. Don't know why. They would fit. I would have rather have seen the Hellions show
Sure.
up. They're not
no
here.
Hellions.
That's fine.
No Hellions.
Anyway, a bunch of people kind of randomly start attacking them in multiple waves. And eventually Magma and Cypher get captured and brought in front of the Red Skull, who is the terrible, terrible, horrible Nazi man.
Mm-hmm.
Who then, in a very Claremontian thing, brainwashes both of them.
Yup.
And then does a body swap thing to Cypher, where Cypher is a Red Skull with claws now.
Okay. This one is just, it's deeply upsetting to me. Obviously, we know that there is this sort of expectation that Doug is not a warrior. Doug is not someone who fights in physical ways when he gets into combat situations. Claremont seems to think that the best way to address that situation is to actually have him tap into his carnal self by having the Red Skull turn him into a Red Skull? I'm sorry, what?
So, the beauty of Doug is that Louise Simonson got tired of writing him, and fans legitimately disliked him heavily in the 80s. Not all fans, but a vocal group. And Louise Simonson eventually said, whatever, we need emotional stakes. Doug can die. We can kill Doug. That's fine. And when they brought Doug back as Douglock initially, and then it wasn't really Doug, but who cares? And then as the everything is language Doug, who can read body language, so he's super good at fighting. In every version of Doug, like addicted to the internet Doug, it's all bad. And then Hickman and company said, why don't we just write Doug like he's Doug from the 80s? And it's really good. And now he has a large wife, and we care about him so much.
Exactly. It's not like you could just honor the character, which is fine. I'm baffled by the choices in here. Selene is suddenly a benevolent, really like worried about her granddaughter, who is Magma, needs to go and save Nova Roma. Like, what is this? Why?
It's dumb.
Ugh.
It doesn't track with literally any Selene that's ever existed.
No.
Except for maybe in Claremont's mind.
Let's not discount the first issue where a bunch of like Nazi SWAT guys take out Magneto and the Hellfire Club just by like, I guess they have fancy armor. What? No, that would not have happened.
Let's not discount that about halfway through this book, most of the cast disappears. Rain, nowhere to be seen. Mm-hmm. Danny, who Claremont loves to write, nowhere to be seen.
Yep.
Magic's in here, but she's really annoying because she's, oh, I'm evil. Hee hee hee. Magic that Claremont really liked instead of the magic everyone else liked.
And instead, it is page after page of either Nova Roman nonsense or, I'm sorry, why am I reading a New Mutant story that is littered with swastikas? Like, we talked about this recently with the Deadpool story, Deadpool versus X-Force. I don't want to look at this. It has no value whatsoever, and it doesn't inform the story or add anything to the story at all. It is just like so obnoxious that there's Red Skull, there's Red Skull's like girlfriend who's also a Red Skull, there's Doug who's a Red Skull, and everybody is like decorated like Girl Scout patch time with swastikas. I hate it.
It's very frustrating to read and to look at. It's filled with Claremont tropes. There's, obviously the Nazis and the brainwashing and the body swappy stuff. There's also definitely some implied sexual assault, and there is like Magma makes out with Red Skull, and I don't like that.
No.
Magma literally dated Mephisto, and I find that more appetizing than the Red Skull. And a very real plot point that got into this book is the Red Skull realizing that Doug was not mind controlled enough because he would not sexually assault somebody.
Yes. He did.
And that's bad.
Yeah. Oh boy. Like, this is just okay. And we've been picking on Claremont. Look, Bob McLeod, love you, buddy. You are a wonderful guy. I've met you a couple times. I think you're sweet as pie. I love your stuff on the original New Mutants. You got to calm down on your Dutch angles. Like, every other frame is twisted at some ridiculous 45-degree angle. It's crazy. And buddy, you can't draw Warlock. I know you don't like him as a character, but like, what is going on with the way you're trying to draw him? Because it don't make any sense.
So, in Bob's defense, he is just doing the inks. So Al Rio is in charge of the layouts here. That is true. So, that being said, yeah, the art's pretty bad in this one too. This was definitely in the X-Men Legends tradition, it was let's get a trash artist on here that we can just kind of burn, that our talent department really wants us to use. And we could not use them on a good book.
It's a callback to a house style of another generation. And it adds literally nothing to an already terrible story. I mean, approaching this as an artist with this script, it must have been just like, why would you even want to draw it? It's so bad.
Bad comic.
It's rough. It's real rough. And they try to wrap it all up at the end and everybody's happy, but my God, it is rough. And I don't want to talk about it anymore. So can we rank it? Because it's worse than what we just talked about in the first story.
Yeah, shockingly, it's worse than the original Nova Roma stuff, which I hate. I'm scrolling down the list. It's worse than Origins at 426 because Origins just kind of doesn't need to exist and is stupid.
I would agree.
It doesn't upset me. You brought this up, that Deadpool versus X-Force. Again, Pepe Larraz art. Mwah. Everything else, pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think Deadpool versus X-Force is a story I would rather return to than this one.
I would agree. How do you feel about it next to something like Storm the Arena at 459?
This has all the same problems of Storm the Arena plus Nazis.
Yeah, so I guess it's a step below. Oof. All right, 462, Bird Brain Saga. I think I'd rather go Bird Brain Saga.
I would too, and this, I don't. So, this is probably okay. 465 is God Loves Man Kills 2. A story that it could not be longer since we've read.
It's still terrible.
It is.
It's still terrible.
Honestly, again, very similar problems to God Loves Man Kills 2. God Loves Man Kills 2 does not have as much bad Nazi stuff.
All right, so we are getting down into Chuck Austin territory here, buddy. At 468,
No.
we have NYX, and then we get into
No,
Holy War.
I would say this is better than NYX, and this is better than Witchblade Wolverine.
Okay. Is it better than the Magneto Volume 1 miniseries, which is actually about Joseph? I feel like this is a little bit better than Magneto Volume 1.
This tells a story. It's a story I hate.
Yes.
And it's a story I fundamentally disagree with the character arcs in.
Yeah.
But it does have a story, whereas that Joseph one's so dumb.
Oh, okay. Good. We never have to talk about this again. It's down at 466.
Oh, we absolutely have to talk about it at some point.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there'll be other crap that will...
Luckily, when we have to talk about this part of this, like the right below the bottom, it's when we're talking about something that we're already mad enough about that we're not even focusing on this other stuff. Claremont, do better. Please, buddy.
Ugh.
Please.
All right. So I think we need a palate cleanser here, Zach. Something that is a little bit more enjoyable than what we've been talking about so far. But it still has to have Celine in it. So what are we going to do?
We're going to talk about a story that was modern Celine. And I wasn't expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised with this story that I've read at least 4 other times. I keep forgetting that Necrosha's kind of good.
Yeah, so we're not covering the entire crossover here, right?
Right, because we've already covered the X-Men Legacy stuff. Mm-hmm. But we are covering really what the prime arc of Necrosha is. That X-Men Legacy and New Mutant stuff is really just a tie-in to it.
Right.
But this is X Necrosha The Gathering, which is a lead-in one-shot that talks about how Celine gets her team, which is fine. It has one part that has some really good Gabriel Hernandez Walter art with Blink, and beyond that, it's fine. X Necrosha #1, and then X Force Volume 3, 21 through 25. This is the Craig Kyle and Chris Yost team, and Clayton Crane does the pencils on all of this. With X Necrosha, Zeb Wells and Mike Carey, with Abraham Robinson and Lawrence Campbell respectively, do a little bit of lead into their tie-ins, but we're not really going to talk about that.
You know, you just alluded to it, but I had always kind of had a negative association with Necrosha. I had a lot of fun reading this. This was fun.
Necrosha's kind of good. Like, it knows what it is. There's like, they did for all of the, I believe at least all the X-Force issues, and possibly I need to check if it included the New Mutants and X-Men Legacy stuff. But Clayton Crane did variant covers for his books that are like classic vampire movie posters.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one that's an interview with the vampire one. The X Necrosha one, I forget exactly, or the Gathering one, I I know it's a movie I can't place which one it is because I'm not a big horror nerd, but there's an Underworld one. What's this one? What's 22? I don't know. I don't recognize vampire things. There's one that's a Blade 3, which I love. There's one that's Queen of the Damned. These are pretty good covers, and I like Clayton Crane a lot. He's this weird mix of incredibly stylized, incredibly fluid, sometimes too fluid, sometimes too on model, like 3D realistic-y, but he's not someone like a Ariel Olivetti or a Salvador LaRocca or Greg Land, where you'd point to him and say, oh no, I know what this is from. I know what this is from. I know what this is from.
No, his work is actually quite cartoony in a lot of places, in terms of the way he constructs faces, the way he does expressions and body language. But he has this sort of dark goth painterly style that with his colors that I think it's the perfect match. You're telling this sort of like goofy horror story about Selene resurrecting the citizens of Genosha so that she can obviously absorb all of their souls and become a gigantic goddess. She's actually physically going to get larger as the story goes.
And we all love a large goddess.
We've got attacks on Utopia. We have the X-Force current roster chasing after Selene and her minions here. And I gotta say, one of the things I think we've talked about before is that Craig and Yost do a great job with action and keeping things at like a really smart tempo that you always want to keep turning the page. And I think they do that really successfully here too. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to know what was going to happen next.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that happens, a lot of stuff that even if I don't care for it in general, it's moving in the same direction as the rest of the X-Force run was going. You get follow up with Rain and Hrimhari, her wolf prince, who no one can pronounce the name of, which is pretty funny in this, where they try and pronounce Hrimhari and they're like, that guy, him right over here,
right?
The talking werewolf that's with us,
yeah.
Where they do a actually really smart and emotional thing where Hrimhari gets Hela, the goddess of the dead, who is not thrilled. Not thrilled that Selene's
nope.
Techno-organic virus. You and you and you. She's like, there were 16 million people missing, and those books do not add up, and I'm a very firm accountant, like the one accountant from Soul. And she says, well, you can offer me your life, and you can save one life, Hrimhari, and that will either cover your unborn child or Rain. And he sits there for a second. He says, hey, Elixir's about to die. Heal him instead, because Elixir can do anything.
Yep.
And she's like, you got it.
Dang
this
it.
Is good. This is fun. She's not happy that she got played, but she respects the game. Mm-hmm. And I like that about Hela. Hela always, she is a Marvel god in the way traditional Greek and Roman mythology is, and I guess a lot of Western mythology, where the gods are just kind of okay, if you're a clever enough human, what am I gonna do?
Right.
But we also get a lot of stuff with James Proudstar, Warpath, who Warpath is one of my favorite X-Men, and I don't talk about that a lot because he's not in enough stuff, but I love Warpath. And I don't particularly love all of the stuff about, hey, actually, the my Apache tribe was real into this vague notion of animism and spirituality and all this, and we can talk to the dead because we're natives. That side's not great, and we talked about that when we talked about the Demon Bear arc that plays into this. Mm-hmm. In fact, gets very direct callbacks because the knife that was in the Demon Bear Eli Bard, a vampire, definitely accidentally lost. And Selene is not happy about it. There's a part he's like, yeah, I've got the knife. And he goes to Blink and he says, I do not have this knife. I don't have the knife. Can you help me? And Blink says, sure thing. And immediately teleports him to Selene and says, he doesn't have the knife. Can you? And she's like, okay. And she kills him eventually. And it's good. But James gets a really good scene with his brother who has been resurrected by Selene.
Mm-hmm.
Like, John Proudstar, again, exists just to die, and his legacy is remembered mostly by his brother. But they get this really good moment where he has to re-kill his brother, and they have an emotional, like, reconciliation there, and it works super well.
I would agree. A lot of great character work with James Proudstar there. That's really at the culmination of this story. So we were kind of building up to that moment, which is fantastic. And there's a lot of other, really good kind of like that whole bit you were describing with Rain is really good. And, it is a bit of a beat 'em up. You've got X-Force just kind of like stabbing corpses or whatever, reanimated by a version of the TO virus. But I think it's fun. It's not like it feels like it has the biggest stakes. That they're going to win, but you still feel that the characters are overwhelmed and that they are in a little bit over their heads and are not sure what to do about this roving band of corpses that, just what are we supposed to do? They're already dead. So I enjoyed the artwork. I love the action that's going on here. And I guess if you want to get a little nitpicky, like, I'm not sure I'm quite on board with why like a character like Blink would just immediately jump over to the dark side upon resurrection. But
let's remember that this is Blink immediately after she gets her mutant powers,
right,
gets captured by the Phalanx, and then dies,
right,
and is trapped in this weird in-between space. So this is not Exiles or Age of Apocalypse Blink. There's some stuff that I don't love. Like, there's stuff between Elixir and
what are we talking about?
Wither. Kevin Ford.
Wither.
Wither.
Well, they bring Wither back. And that,
which was a Craig and Kyle thing to get rid of him.
Sure. But I actually kind of like that actually makes a lot of sense. Like Wither wanting to get revenge against an X-Men that doesn't understand him. I can kind of get behind that. Like, if you need Selene to have a henchman, it makes sense to bring back a character like that. And I think it's used much better here than it was the first time around.
That makes sense. Don't super love Selene hooking up with a teenager.
Wow. Selene's just...
That part.
Selene's just walking around in her Hellfire lingerie.
I understand that Selene's too old for everyone, but she's especially too old for him. That part's not like super duper, but on the whole, this is like, to me, what people wanted Curse of the Mutants to be.
Bingo.
It's Curse of the Mutants, but it's good because, like, if you're going to resurrect a bunch of people, it's like, hey, 16 million people died in Genosha. Maybe we could do something with that. And she turns it into her new city and immediately turns into a god. And then X-Force stabs God with a knife. And that's, like, this run of X-Force, if it didn't culminate with X-Force stabbing God with a knife,
we're doing something
it wouldn't be
wrong.
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. I can get behind that.
This is a good, like, culmination of 25 issues plus of storytelling, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I had the same thought while I was reading it. I'm like, this is Curse of the Mutants, except I didn't hate Curse of the Mutants, but this has I don't know, I just enjoyed it more. It seems...
This is Curse of the Mutants, but not only enjoyable for camp value. It's Curse of the Mutants enjoyable for the fact that it's like a fun action story.
Absolutely. So this was a nice palate cleanser after all that bad New Mutant stuff that I just was not digging. This was a fun action-packed page turner, and I can see why the art might be like a turnoff for some people, but I don't know why. I think it's really cool. Wolverine has meltdown hair. It's great.
Clayton Crane's pretty good. Did a Rise series for Valiant that looked gorgeous. Like,
Nice.
I understand why people don't like him. I like it. 359 is Curse of the Mutants, and I'm scrolling way up from there.
Oh yeah, no, we're way above that. I think this is
better than.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say this is better than Negative Zone War at 195.
I would agree. I'm just looking.
Actually, I know it has to be better than 154, which is X-Men Legacy Necrosha, because this is better than the Legacy parts.
Okay. Is it better than the Uncanny 159 episode where Storm and Dracula hook up?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's better than House of M at 125.
Wow, we're really working our way up here. Okay.
I mean, I think the ceiling has to be 98, because it's not better than X-Men Second Coming that happens literally next.
No. You highlighted it too. At 107, we have the X-Men and X-Factor Arc of Inferno. I don't think this is better than that.
It's probably not better than Inferno, but it's probably better than the Peter David Nasty Boys arc of X-Factor.
I would agree. I don't know.
At 111.
Well, I think I would put it in between that and what's above it at 110, which is X-Men Life Lessons. What do you think about that?
I actually think that's a very good spot. This could
we
be
go.
our new 111.
All right.
Necrosha. Good for Necrosha. Way to show. I wasn't expecting that necessarily.
I don't know. We have a soft spot in our hearts for this kind of like weird sort of tongue-in-cheek.
Lord of the Vampires as at 69. So
Perfect. All right. So we survived our trip to Nova Roma and hanging out with Celine. Congratulations.
we did. I'd like to thank Eric Cotton for making us talk about Celine. We had a really bad time, and then we had a good time there at the end, which was fun. If you want to be like Eric, you can go over to patreon.com/comicsxf. Throw a little money in our coffers. As this is released, we will have just done our February live vibe sesh, where we just vibe and hang out with people on Discord. And I haven't been to this one yet because it's in the future for me. But it seems like it's going to be a really fun time.
It should be. The last one was.
It should be. Adam, what you got going on?
Okay, guys, you can always follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy and Instagram at adam.rec. And Zach, anything you want to highlight with Comics XF coming up?
Yeah, you can follow everything about Comics XF at Comics XF on Twitter or at comicsxf.com. We have some great stuff. There's a really good article that Jude Jones wrote about Magneto and how we misinformedly apply black culture onto a lot of things in comics that we really shouldn't. And then on the opposite side of that, we actually had super good interviews this last week, which you should check out. Stephanie Williams and Danny Lore talked about a lot of stuff, but including their Marvel Voices Legacy contributions. That title just came out this last week. So there's a lot of good stuff there. I wrote 3 different reviews this week, and all of them, I think, are very good. It's about I Breathed a Body by Zach Thompson and Andy McDonald, which is gross, and I love it. It's gross because of society. And also of the bodies that are in it.
Yeah.
Wrote about Asagi Yojimbo, which is always good. Wrote about Crossover, which is the most fascinating comic that's quality-wise way down the tubes, but so fascinating. And we had a bunch of other stuff. This was like one of our biggest weeks as far as reviews go. So go check that out. Oh, we also did a big thing where we had a bunch of people redesign Polaris. Adam, you did a contribution to that.
I did,
thought it was pretty cool.
So check that out. Lots of really great artwork and some very cool designs.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to have to wear our masks, but we're going to the movies next week, right?
Buddy, no, we're not. We're going to GameStop, buddy. we're going to the video game store and we're going to get some weird-ass game tie-ins of different X-Men comics. I have been waiting for this specific episode for so long.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be... It may be short. I don't know. But we'll figure it out. But until then, guys, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
There's gonna come a day when you feel better. You'll rise up free and easy on that day and float from branch to branch, lighter than the air. Just when that day is coming, who can say, who can say? Our mother has been absent ever since we founded Rome. But there's gonna be a party when the wolf comes home.